The room was quiet, except for the faint buzz of the city outside. Maya, 25, stared at her phone screen, the notifications lighting up one after another. She had blocked Daniel, 26, her ex, weeks ago, but he still found ways to reach her. A new Reddit link, a tag post, a message forwarded from a mutual friend. Every time she thought she was finally free, his shadow reappeared. Daniel wasn't the type to let go. He needed to be in control. He needed to be adored. To everyone else, he was the perfect man, witty, charming, woke, and endlessly supportive of his friends. But Maya knew the truth. Behind the facade was a man who mocked the very people he claimed to support, who belittled women while proudly calling himself a feminist, who could twist any argument into a game of gaslighting until she doubted her own reality. And now, after the breakup, he was determined to ruin her too. Maya had lived through months of subtle torture. Friends began pulling away, repeating things Daniel had whispered in their ears. She's unstable. She's dramatic. She's toxic. He had a way of making lies sound like truth and truth sound like madness. But Maya wasn't weak. For weeks, she swallowed her anger, trying to focus on herself. But every notification, every poisonous comment, every manipulative stunt fueled something inside her. A fire. And then, one day, opportunity came knocking. It was an ordinary Wednesday afternoon when Maya received the text. Hey Maya, we're doing something small for Alex's birthday this weekend. You should come. It'd be nice to see you again. The message was from Liam, Daniel's roommate, and one of the few people Maya had stayed friendly with. She had no interest in running into her ex, but there was one irresistible factor, Daniel's cat. A fluffy, mischievous little creature she had adored more than Daniel himself. For a moment, she hesitated. Why put herself in a room with him again? Why risk the tension? But then she thought of his smug face, his lies spreading unchecked through his tight-knit circle of friends. And that's when the idea bloomed. This wasn't just a party. This was the stage. And she was done being silent. Saturday night arrived. Maya stood outside the apartment building, clutching a small gift bag and steadying her breath. She had dressed simply, nothing flashy, nothing too noticeable. She wanted to blend in, to disarm them before her words struck like daggers. The door opened, and Liam greeted her warmly. Inside, laughter and music filled the room. The birthday cake sat proudly on the kitchen counter, drinks lined up on the table, and a cluster of people, Daniel's people, filled the space. They were his fortress, his loyal audience, the ones who believed he was some kind of gift to the world. Maya smiled politely, exchanging hugs, pretending nothing was wrong. But inside, her heart pounded. Tonight, she would dismantle his kingdom brick by brick. Dana was already drunk. She spotted him across the room, arms slung around another guy, grinning wide, performing as always. He hadn't noticed her yet, and for that she was grateful. It gave her time to plan her move. As the night went on, Maya laughed at the right jokes, sipped her drink slowly, and waited. She wasn't here for him. She was here for the truth. The opportunity came when she saw three women huddled together near the hallway. Claire, Daniel's longtime female friend, Sophie, Liam's girlfriend, and another girl from the group Maya vaguely knew. They were the core of the circle, the ones Daniel valued, the ones he pretended to champion while secretly tearing them down. Maya's pulse quickened. This was it. She approached with a friendly smile. Hey, mind if I join you? Of course not, Claire said, handing her a drink. They chatted lightly at first, about the cake, the music, the mess Daniel was making on the dance floor. But then Maya lowered her voice, her expression shifting. There's something I've been meaning to say, she began. Something you should probably know. The women leaned in, curious. Maya took a breath. This was the moment. The unraveling of Daniel's carefully crafted mask. You all think he's this amazing guy, she said softly. Supportive, respectful, the perfect friend. but I need to tell you what it was like when no one else was watching. The words poured out like poison, but controlled, deliberate, precise. She told them about the girl Daniel had snuck into his room at night while still with her. The endless gaslighting, the way he twisted reality until she felt insane. The cruel things he said behind their backs, mocking their relationships, criticizing Sophie to Liam, questioning Claire's choices while smiling to her face. She spoke of his so-called feminism, how he wore it like armor in public, but mocked women in private, laughing at misogynistic jokes and claiming sometimes it's okay. Their faces shifted from curiosity to disbelief, then to something darker. Recognition, doubt, anger. Maya leaned closer. I defended him. I always defended him, even when he didn't deserve it. But you need to know who he really is. She let the silence linger. The words sank in like stones at the bottom of a pond, rippling through the group. And then, with a polite smile, she excused herself. Anyway, I didn't mean to ruin the mood. Thanks for listening. By the time Daniel noticed her, she was already cutting a piece of cake. He stumbled over, slurring something half playful, half bitter. But Maya just smiled sweetly, took a bite, and said, "Happy birthday to Alex." And then she left. The night was cold, the city alive with noise. Maya walked home lighter than she had in months. She didn't need to see the fallout. She didn't need to witness the moment the mask slipped. She knew the seed had been planted, and seeds, given time, always grow. The night after the party, Maya lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her mind replayed the scene again and again. The widening eyes, the stunned silence, the way Claire's hand tightened around her drink as though she had heard something she secretly suspected all along. She didn't know what would happen next. And for once, she didn't care. Her revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was a whisper carefully placed where it would echo the loudest. Now it was only a matter of time. For Daniel, the night had been nothing unusual. He drank too much, bragged too much, and stumbled home laughing, unaware that the foundation of his carefully built image was already beginning to crack. It started small. Claire didn't answer his texts the next day. Sophie turned down his offer to hang out. At first, he shrugged it off. People were busy, nothing unusual. But then came the tension at the weekly group dinner. The conversations that once flowed with ease turned stiff, eyes shifting, silences lingering just a little too long. Daniel, who lived for attention, suddenly felt like an outsider in his own circle. And he hated it. Claire couldn't shake Maya's words. She had known Daniel for nearly a decade, but in the back of her mind there had always been something. The little comments he made that felt more like jabs than jokes. The way he bragged about understanding women, yet never really listened. Sophie remembered the nights Liam confessed that Daniel had criticized her, things Maya had now repeated. Could they all really be coincidences? The women began talking in private. One whispered to another, who whispered to someone else. The whispers spread like cracks in glass, until the entire group could no longer look at Daniel the same way. And Daniel noticed. 2 weeks later it happened. The group was gathered in Liam's apartment for movie night, the same ritual they had kept for years. But the mood was tense, the air heavy. Daniel laughed too loudly at the screen, filling the silence, pretending not to notice the sideways glances. Finally, Claire spoke. "Daniel," she said, voice calm but sharp, "is it true?" The room fell silent. Daniel blinked. "Is what true? That you brought another girl home while you were still with Maya? That you've been trash-talking us behind our backs? That you—" "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Daniel cut her off, his voice rising defensively. "Where the hell is this coming from?" Sophie crossed her arms. "Maya told us everything." At the mention of her name, Daniel's expression twisted. "Of course she did. She's bitter. She's obsessed. You really think she's reliable? Come on, you know me better than that." But the room stayed quiet. And for the first time, Daniel realized he had lost the room. He tried to charm them. He laughed, he shrugged, he denied. But the more he spoke, the less convincing he sounded. His voice was too sharp, his hands too restless. Claire narrowed her eyes. "You've mocked my relationship before, haven't you?" Daniel scoffed. "Everyone jokes. Don't take it so seriously." "Jokes?" Sophie shot back. "You told Liam I wasn't good enough for him." Liam shifted uncomfortably, but his silence spoke volumes. Daniel's face turned red. "This is ridiculous. You're really going to believe her over me? After all these years?" But the years of loyalty no longer shielded him. His friends weren't smiling. They weren't nodding. They were looking at him like strangers. And that terrified him. The confrontation spiraled. Voices rose. Accusations flew. Every story Maya had told now had a witness, a moment that suddenly made sense. The jokes, the criticisms, the hypocrisy, it all came together like pieces of a puzzle. Finally, Claire stood up. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "You've been toxic for years, Daniel. We just didn't see it." Sophie followed. "If you can treat Maya like that, what makes us think you respect us?" The group murmured in agreement, a tide turning against him. Daniel was frantic now, his mask completely gone. "You're making a mistake. She's manipulating you. You're my friends, not hers." But his words only sealed his fate. Liam, the roommate who had always defended him, looked him in the eye and said, "No, Daniel, we've been defending you, and we're done." By the end of the night, it was clear Daniel was no longer welcome. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him, shouting about betrayal. But the words rang hollow. His kingdom had crumbled, not with a dramatic explosion, but with quiet truth. And just like that, Daniel, the man who once thought himself untouchable, was cut off from the very people who had been his stage. No more dinners, no more parties, no more audience. He still lived in the same apartment, but he might as well have been invisible. Invitations stopped. Conversations ended when he entered the room. His laughter, once infectious, now echoed back at him in empty silence. For a man like Daniel, exile was worse than anything else. Maya didn't hear about the fallout immediately. She moved on with her life, focusing on work, friends, herself. But months later, a mutual acquaintance told her everything. The confrontation, the fight, the exile. She listened quietly, a small smile tugging at her lips. She hadn't needed to lift a finger after that night. The truth had done all the work for her. And now, Daniel was alone. For the first time in a long time, Maya felt something she hadn't known she was missing. Peace. But this wasn't the end. Not yet. Because Daniel's downfall was only beginning. And soon, Maya would hear news that made her smile even wider. Winter crept into the city slowly, bringing with it shorter days and colder nights. For most, it was a season of cozy gatherings and holiday cheer. But for Daniel, it was a season of silence. Once upon a time, his phone never stopped buzzing. Invitations, inside jokes, late-night plans. He had always been the center of the circle, the life of every gathering. But now there was nothing. No dinners, no parties, no text from Claire asking for advice, no late-night calls from Liam. The group chats, once his favorite playground, had grown quiet on his end. He could still see the messages flying between others, arrangements, laughter plans, but he was no longer tagged, no longer included. It was like watching a party through a glass window, knocking but never allowed in. At first, he tried to fight it. He confronted Liam, demanding answers. "What the hell is going on? Why are you all shutting me out?" But Liam's voice was steady. "You know why, Daniel? You've been hurting people for years. We just finally stopped ignoring it." Daniel laughed bitterly. "So what? You're all choosing her side?" "Maya's side." Liam shook his head. "We're not choosing her. We're choosing ourselves." And that was that. Daniel's anger turned to desperation. He tried to rebuild his image online, posting stories, long rants about loyalty and betrayal, vague accusations about toxic exes. But the likes dwindled. The sympathy he expected never came. His audience had shrunk, and he was left shouting into a void. Living in the same apartment as Liam became unbearable. Once, they had been brothers in all but blood. Now, Liam barely acknowledged him. Sophie, who spent most nights there, refused to even look at him. And worst of all, the gatherings continued without him. He would hear laughter through the walls, smell the food, catch glimpses of the friends he once called family walking through the door. But his door never opened for them again. Every sound was a reminder he had been erased. Months passed, and the silence pressed down harder with every week. Daniel began avoiding places he once loved, too afraid of running into them. His kingdom had shrunk to the four walls of his room and the cold glow of his laptop screen. And then came the news. Maya heard it first from a mutual friend, one who relished sharing the gossip. "Did you hear? Daniel's leaving the city." Her eyebrows lifted. "Really? Yeah. He says it's for work, but everyone knows the truth. He can't stand it here anymore. No friends, no invites, no one left on his side. He's basically running away." Maya sat back, letting the words sink in. A slow smile curved across her lips. Daniel, the man who once thought he was untouchable, adored, worshipped, was packing his bags, leaving behind the city he had ruled for a decade. Not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. That night, Maya walked through the city streets, bundled in her coat, her breath visible in the cold air. The lights of the cafes and bars shimmered around her, laughter spilling from doorways, couples huddled close, friends clinking glasses. This had once been Daniel's world, but not anymore. She thought back to the beginning, the lies, the manipulation, the constant need to tear her down. She remembered the way he made her doubt herself, question her own worth. She remembered the nights she cried, wondering if she'd ever escape his shadow. And now, he was the one in exile. She didn't need to confront him again. She didn't need an apology, or a scene, or even acknowledgement. The satisfaction came from knowing the truth. He had destroyed himself. All she had done was pull back the curtain. One weekend, before Daniel finally moved away, Maya ran into Liam at a cafe. They exchanged polite small talk before Liam grinned. "You'll be happy to know the cat's staying with me." Maya laughed, genuinely delighted. The cat had been one of the few pure joys during her relationship with Daniel, and knowing the sweet creature was safe, loved, and away from Daniel's toxicity made her heart lighter. "Good," she said. "He deserves better." Liam chuckled. "Honestly, so did all of us." Daniel left quietly, without fanfare. No going away party, no heartfelt farewells. Just a moving van, a few suitcases, and a silence so loud it followed him down the street. The city didn't notice he was gone. His absence was like a stain removed from fabric. The whole place felt cleaner without him. And somewhere across town, Maya sipped her coffee and smiled. Life moved on. Maya healed, rediscovered herself, surrounded by real friends who valued her honesty and strength. She didn't need Daniel's validation anymore. She didn't need revenge to define her. But still, sometimes late at night, she thought about it. About how he had tried to break her, humiliate her, erase her. And about how, in the end, he had only managed to erase himself. The irony was delicious, because in every story, someone gets the final say. And in this story, Maya had it. She had the last word. She had the last laugh.